Hello everyone, happy Thursday to you. Sorry for the little delay in getting started, but I had to test some audio issues here. Actually, it looks like my audio is probably blaring right now, so I'm gonna just drop that down a little bit. Alright, good. Did my initial audio checks. See, this is, I always got an audio engineer on the fly. For those of you who don't know, I am Midnight Hatter, and today we're having a little fun, a little discussion here. Oh, hi Mario. Anyway, how's your sex life? Yeah, so as we are nearing the end of the year, and as we're kind of rounding the corner on the final updates of Gundam 5e, I thought it'd be fun to just play a little, a little mindless game like Mario Odyssey and talk some game design principles that I've been thinking about pretty heavily over the last few days. Hey, Happy New Year to you as well. Yes, this is not Gundam. Well, I'll be talking a little bit about Gundam, but mostly talking about some things, general game design principles that I've been thinking about, and Mario's going to be related to those things, which is why I picked this particular game. But, going to talk next steps, going to talk what to expect in 2022, and, just hopefully hang out and have a fun, productive gaming chat with y'all. Hope you guys are having an excellent night and an excellent week. Let's see. Hey, I love talking game designs too. I'm always happy to have a psycho in chat. Oh man, you guys, my hair has gotten out of control long, but I think I'm just gonna keep it going. I appreciate it. Honestly, Vampire is a new, I'm used to Ender, so I didn't know that you changed your tag. So, if you are, you probably won't see it on Twitch, but on the YouTube chat, I have a video that I placed in the description, a link to which, so it's a Seth Skorkowski video, and the only reason I wanted to link it so that anyone who wanted to watch it could reference it. So Seth Skorkowski, let me see here. Oh, I see. So Seth Skorkowski is a fantastic YouTuber. I'm sure that if you're familiar with me, you're familiar with him. But if not, you should go sub to see his content about tabletop RPGs. He's one of the goats. So he dropped a video recently talking about the difference between a skill-based RPG and a class-based RPG, and I want to kind of talk about yeah, I don't want to cut my hair all loose to the Philistines, so I wanted to expand upon some of the ideas that that Seth brought up in his video, because I tend to agree with him. Yeah, I agree with him. I prefer skills-based RPGs to class-based RPGs. And that's the stream, guys. Hope you all enjoyed it. I will catch you all next year. I'm kidding. So, while I generally agree with Seth Skorkowski's assessment about skill-based RPGs and class-based RPGs, like I said, I'm not going to play the video here. I want you guys to go check it out on your own time, make up your own minds. But the summary of which is that a class-based RPG, something like Dungeons and Dragons, all the editions, is going to be a game in which your class determines basically everything that your character can do, and you you have a mold that you build your character within, and then everything else you do is in service to that mold, right? Whereas a skills-based RPG, something more like Traveler, you know, there's no real classes. You have careers and you have stuff that improves your skills, but generally speaking, it's your skills that define your characters. This can be much more liberating because you can kind of create the character that you want to play, as opposed to, oh my, stupid fly. So yeah, you can create the character that you want to play, you know, instead of trying to fit the character into a predetermined mold that's been kind of outlined for you. Now, that's not to say that you can't, you know, you can definitely create characters kind of wholesale in a class-based RPG, but a lot of, like I said, he goes into much better detail than I do here, obviously. Suffice to say that, you know, your skills-based RPGs are less defined around what class you pick at the beginning of the game, and more influenced by your actions during the game. I think that that's probably the best way to summarize it, because, you know, if you're playing D&D and you pick a fighter, you're going to be a fighter, at least, you know, excluding the idea of multi-classing and things like that. You know, you're not going to... You're going to have a predefined role in the game, right? Whereas, you know, in a game like Traveler, you might set out to try and create, you know, your tanky soldier type character. But, you know, one of the kind of hallmarks of skill-based RPGs is that you don't really have that leveling up aspect where, you know, you're in Traveler, you're never going to have 120,000 hit points and be able to tank a bullet to the cranium. You know, like the threat of permadeath is always right around the corner. Oh, no, no, no! Ooh! Yahoo! Whoops. Yes, thank you. So, it's easy to kind of say that class-based RPGs are not as good as skill-based RPGs. You know, that's kind of a reductionist, a reductionist mentality to say that one's better than the other. They're just different, right? And I would like to identify some of the weaknesses of skill-based RPGs as much as I enjoy them. And this applies to both tabletop RPGs and video games. I'm gonna use video games as an example, because there's some very good examples of people trying to address the problems with skill-based RPGs in video games, more so than I think in tabletop games. So the first, I would say, the first benefit of a class-based RPG over a skills-based RPG is that they are more new player-friendly. You know, you don't... Yes, there's a lot more freedom in your typical skill-based RPG, because, you know, you kind of create your character from scratch, as opposed to, you know, picking kind of like an archetype and going from there. But, you know, that's one of the benefits of a class-based RPG, is that new players can just say, hey, I want to be the guy that throws fireballs. Oh, okay, well, here you go. You're a sorcerer now. You know, you have the build already made for you. Which leads me into the next big point, which is that class-based RPGs tend to put skill-based RPGs to shame in terms of character abilities. Oh, I'm going to be stuck on this level for a long time. Yep. I can't help myself. I need to be in the purple. You know, most skill-based RPGs, you're not going to have cool feats and cool class abilities to choose from. You know, you're not going to have the cool monk build where you can spend key points to, you know, do an extra flurry of blows and stuff like that. You know, skill-based RPGs tend to be very flat and generic. It's like, okay, well, my ranged skill is higher than your ranged skill, therefore I'm just more likely to hit. You're not going to have cool things like trick shots or sneak attack, things like that. So there have been attempts, I would say, for instance, and this is where sort of video games come into play, is like a game like Skyrim and the Elder Scrolls series in general is pretty good about trying to take what is dogs are going nuts. The Elder Scrolls games in general are good about trying to take what is essentially a skills-based RPG, because if you've ever played any Elder Scrolls game, you know that you can level up any skill you want just by practicing it. And they do have classes that you can choose from the beginning that give you bonuses and things like that, but they're not restricting the way that a D&D class is. And in the latest installment, I say latest, it's 10 years old now. Is it 10 years old? Is Skyrim 10 years old? It was 2011. Yeah. In Skyrim, they tried to skirt that lack of abilities with the, skill perk trees. As you practice your skills, you can unlock certain perks. The problem is, those perks were whack. Like, okay, there we go. Whew. Oh, jeez. I am the worst. The perks were kind of whack. With the exception of some of the spellcasting perks that you get in Skyrim, the majority of perks are like, oh, if you have enough swordsmanship skill, you have a 5% chance of beheading using a power attack. It's like, that's not... You can see how that's not as cool as, say, fighter skills in D&D, where you can have, superiority dice and do maneuvers and stuff like that. So, going forward, and sort of, for those who have kind of followed the work that I've been doing, that I've been prototyping and working with developing my own video game and a companion tabletop game to go along with it. One of the things that I am going to be trying to do is implement a similar sort of talent tree system, where instead of having player classes, you are going to be able to level up any skill you want. And that said, when you have a certain number of skill points, you can unlock certain feats and certain talents. I'm leaning towards calling them talents as opposed to feats. But let's see. Yes, indeed. I don't want my grave to read that guy that made a Gundam game. I want to, obviously develop my own work, which was always the intent. But of course, the exercise of creating a role-playing game based on Gundam was a good way of kind of getting my feet wet. And like I said, now that I'm kind of getting close to wrapping that up, I say wrapping it up, I mean, it's going to be an ongoing project. I'm always going to have to maintain the website, add new content and stuff like that, but it's definitely not going to be my core focus anymore. Using the lessons I've learned, using the feedback I've gotten, I'm going to create my own science fantasy game, which I already have the story for it sort of roughly outlined, and I've got the sort of universe planned. I have a general idea of the video game mechanics, as well as... What did she ask me to do? I wanted to get a first-hand look at the problem. Looks like that monster's friends need a new donk lesson. I'm going to give them a new donk lesson. Oh, hey, hey, what's going on, Goose? And what's going on, Chop? Um, so, smush this guy. So, like I said, using lessons learned, and again, not just lessons learned about game development in general, but lessons learned about my own proclivities when it comes to games. I am planning on sort of implementing some of that stuff into this work. Um, I do have in the next year. I will be releasing the sort of playable demo, which is going to serve as the sort of tech demo for my masterpiece, my Sistine Chapel, if you will. This epic RPG that I'm planning on making. Uh, and like I said, the companion tabletop version is going to. I'm going to try and implement obviously all of the same mechanics and all of the same abilities into both, which was always kind of the goal. Um, I have not forgotten you. In fact, I did forget to respond to your text, however. So I need to get on that. Let's get some new donk power going. Now that said, like I said, I mentioned the lack of abilities in skills-based RPGs. Um, oh, is it just cranking out moons? One thing that I think Nintendo, bringing us back around to Mario, Nintendo does really well is they create games that put the abilities and the things that you can do first. Now, obviously, well, yeah, of course, I want to participate in the festival. The chief among these, of course, being Mario and Zelda, but Kirby too. Like the idea of eating your enemies and then like you get some of their powers and stuff like that. Nintendo's great about implementing those kinds of fun abilities into video games that are outside of just my stats are higher, therefore my sword breaks you. Um, which is a weakness, like I said, of Skyrim. Skyrim tried to have a skills-based RPG that has a little bit of a perk to it, but those perks need to be more than just like, hey, if you're high enough level, you can summon a flame atronach instead of a scamp, or if you're a high enough level, you can hold two swords instead of one. Like, that's pretty minor compared to, say, the ability to eat your enemy. Oh, she actually has like lyrics to the song. Nope, not a clue. I might have missed that. Um, so that brings me to, of course, this game. You know, Mario can do a lot of cool things. You've got your ground pound, you've got your long jump, you've got your backflip. Super Mario Odyssey in particular introduced the whole mechanic of the hat, where you can possess things. These are the types of things that I think a perk tree should include. Now, Nintendo tends to give away these abilities for free. Obviously, you can basically unlock everything. Like Mario can do everything. Link can do everything. Oh, is this like classic? It feels like I'm playing Donkey Kong. Um, oh, this is awesome. Oh yeah, the ability to turn 2D. Um, Now, an RPG would say, okay, if you have enough of such and such stat, then you have the ability to, turn flat, or, you know, what have you, whatever the ability itself may be. And that's what I'd like to implement, is those feats, those talents, those sort of class abilities that you would get. Oh man, how am I gonna... He kind of stole the Sonic movement mechanic there. I forget everyone unless I talk to them every so often. Oh yeah, I mean it makes for great puzzles. Uh, this, for instance, you know, you've got your upside down world where gravity is inverted. I wish there was a little more clarity about where the gravity point is, because I do believe that if I jump high enough, I will fall down. But at least that's how it worked earlier in the game. Alright, there we go. But yeah, and obviously abilities should be able to help you solve puzzles. You know, I'm a big fan of puzzles and puzzle dungeons. I was a little disappointed that there wasn't more. I mean, there were some fun puzzles in Breath of the Wild. Um, but, you know, definitely not as well, I don't know. I actually kind of prefer the puzzles of Breath of the Wild to some of the earlier Zelda games, if only because there was more than one way to solve them. You know, you weren't kind of just restricted to however the game designer scripted, you know, everything to work. I really did like the way that the game. It was a game of systems, right? The oh, jeez. There was a system involved with, you know, setting things on fire or magnetism or electricity, stuff like that. That's right. Bye, Donkey Kong. Oh yeah. See, I'm a big fan of puzzle games. So, you know, finding a way to implement that, and then of course bringing it back into the tabletop side of things, like how do you create class abilities that allow you to solve puzzles in ways other than just combat. You know, there's definitely opportunity there. Sorry, it looks like I'm like playing with myself. I just have this dummy. You want to say hi, Cinderella? You want to say hi? Are you bored? I think you're bored. Suddenly Flat Gundam. Oh, give me those moons. Give me those sweet moons. And of course, I'm one of those people that defines Legend of Zelda as an RPG. It's not an RPG in the traditional sense where you level up your character, but you do level up your gear. Your gear is what unlocks your cool abilities and stuff. And in a strict gaming sense, it doesn't matter if an ability is unlocked by a piece of equipment or a class ability, right? The hookshot mechanic from Legend of Zelda is an ability. Again, it doesn't necessarily matter if it's tied to your character or tied to a piece of gear. The mechanic is the same, and that's where you know, it's just flavor at that point. So it's just a matter of creating the mechanic and then crafting the flavor around it from there. Hopefully that makes sense. Uh-oh, did I see a guy in a sombrero? What are you doing, my little man? Hey, it's you again. Let's see, I wonder if... Oh, is that, Salt and Sanctuary? I've never played Salt and Sanctuary. I've watched it streamed a few times. It looks like a fun game. Honestly, I would consider it an RPG because it's a Souls-like, essentially. And Dark Souls itself is an RPG as well. I think that people tend to think of skills-based RPGs as not RPGs because you're not necessarily playing a role the way that you are in a class-based RPG. You know, obviously a class-based RPG, you're a healer, you're a tank, you are fulfilling a role. And there's different interpretations, different ways to read that, right? Do you consider a role-playing game a game where you are playing in a story and you are fulfilling the role of a character? Or do you see a role-playing game as a game in which you are filling a role in a, you know, in a party? Let's see. Honestly, a Gundam with a grappling hook sounds awesome. Absolutely. A scythe-wielding cleric. That sounds pretty sweet. I think that I had one more power moon in here that I needed to get. So yeah, it really just depends on your interpretation of what a role-playing game is. By my definition, I would say, you know, yeah. No! I didn't get the moon! Oh, I'm gonna have to go and get it again. But yeah, one of the things in my sort of tech demo, I did create a hookshot style grappling hook. I'm not as happy with it as I would say. I would almost prefer a Lost Planet style grappling hook. And of course, implementing that in a tabletop would be, you know, just as easy, because you are, you know, you just create like a movement ability. But again, that's an ability that you can either, again, tie to the equipment of the grappling hook, or you can tie it to a class ability. In a skills-based RPG, you don't get those types of abilities. Or, what's more frustrating, I would say, is when everybody gets those abilities. And I would cue that meme, oh, dang it! I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to get that moon. Finally dropping big 40k for lots of reasons. Only played a few times, but the main... Oh, yeah, 100%. 40k is not a... I definitely enjoy the mini design, the character design and stuff. I love painting 40k miniatures. But as a game, you know, I could take it or leave it. And that was another thing. Say what you will about Wizards of the Coast and WizKids. Lord knows I do. But I think that I really enjoyed Hero Clicks. Didn't so much enjoy Mech Clicks. There was a little too much going on with that. But I enjoyed Hero Clicks. I enjoyed Heroscape. As far as miniature war games go, because, you know, and you know, maybe you get this kind of kick from 40k and BattleTech as well. For me, it's kind of like the difference between a Call of Duty and like an Overwatch hero shooter type thing. You know, obviously, Heroscape and Hero Clicks are more along the line. Oh no! Are more along the lines of an Overwatch style hero shooter, whereas Mech War, or BattleTech I should say, and 40k are more like Call of Duty. Spiders are hydraulic creatures. Whoop. Let's see. Talking grapple hooks. Okay. I am in the right spot to get this. I am never going to get this stupid moon. I give up. So yeah, let's see. Talking grapple hooks. I do I play kill team. There's a team that gets grapple hooks and lets them climb and ignore measurements. Yeah, see, it's easy to create that mechanic. But, you know, again, to tie it to a skill point instead of a class ability is the goal. Because I think that too many games are kind of hard in one camp or hard in the other. And even in the video that I linked down in the description, Seth Skorkowski talks about how some, you know, it's more of a spectrum, right? Like there's gray areas between the two. Some games tend to be more class-based, and some games tend to be more skill-based. What is this guy's scarecrow? Oh, that's cool. Uh-oh. And then some games tend to not have no skill or class involved at all. Ooh. No! But yeah, for what it's worth, the game that I am working on is going to be more skill-based, but I want to try and address some of the issues that come with being a 100%... Okay, there's got to be a trick to this, right? Like, I'm screwing something up. Maybe I need to do the long jump. I don't think long jump was the way to go on that one. Let's see. I like the concept of everyone kind of do a little bit of everything, but certain classes have buffs and skills. See, and that's where it's like I like everyone to have specialties, of course, and that's where, you know, things like your career and your background come into play, and they grant you bonuses to those skills. But the thing that I love about a skill-based RPG is that you are as good as the things that you practice, right? You're only going to get better at sneaking when you sneak. You're only going to get better at sword fighting when you sword fight. And so you kind of craft your character that way, as opposed to something like D&D, where, and, you know, Skorkowski brings this up, is it's like, let's say you're a rogue that is mostly a swashbuckler, or maybe you're even just a talkative rogue. You took rogue as a skill monkey. You weren't actually trying to be an assassin. But then, all of a sudden, you hit 10th level, and you're nailing sneak attack damage, having never done a sneak attack in your life. That's what I don't like about the class-based RPGs, is everything is kind of exterior to what your character does in-game. And like I said, cue that meme when everybody's special, nobody is, right? When everyone's a super, no one's a superhero. I think it was a mistake in Skyrim for everyone to get sneak attack. I think that sneak attack should have been reserved if you had hit a certain score in stealth. Like, you have to have at least 20 stealth before you can do sneak attack damage. Now, you can get better sneak attack damage if you go higher. And they do that. Like, obviously, you know, the sneakier you are, you can deal more damage. I think it should be restricted to even just the feat of doing a sneak attack itself should be restricted to people who practice that skill. And of course, coming into the game at the start, you would theoretically have access to unlock that if that is your character build. I don't think there's anything wrong with that necessarily. Okay, I think I... Ah! Okay, I was almost there. Let me see. Talking of classes, I've been thinking of a D&D each skirmish game where 2 players make a party and face each other. PvP D&D can be fun. I like the idea of a party more than, you know, individual players, because obviously D&D being what it is, you know, a cleric is never going to survive a fight with a fighter. It just... wait a second. Uh-huh. I think I see a little cheat code over here. Because can I just go up this way. Go up this little... Oh, I don't have my hat. I don't have my hat, so I can't do anything up there. So I do have to go up those little tiles. Yeah, as far as PvP D&D goes, it should be, you know, each side creates a party and then you go from there because, like you said, I mean... Oh, I was almost there. I will get this. Oop. I'm glad I made it back in time. So anyway, that is what is on the horizon for me, and that is sort of the, just the things that I've been musing about. I had never heard it put in those terms before, but considering the growing pains that I've gone through with creating this Gundam tabletop RPG, I can honestly say that I was trying to pigeonhole my skills-based RPG qualities into D&D, which does not work for a variety of reasons. And even Chop in the chat here will agree that there are certain certain game mechanics, such as the life path system. Oh, how do we? Is there a way to crouch in there? What's going on here? How do I get in here? It's a mystery. Yeah, Chop in the chat will know that, you know, we tried to adapt the life path system to... Oh. Yeah, how are my kids so good at this? Can I have a go at that? What? Huh. Well, this is funny. Oh, this is like worse than trying to drive a drone. I hate two-stick driving. Okay. And let's go. Alright, I think I tricked it. Alright. Where was I? Yeah, trying to adapt the life path system to D&D, a game where, you know, you have a class to start out with, and, you know, you're trying to adapt a system such as Traveler where you can, where your character creation involves getting skill bonuses, but it's not a game where you can, like, D&D 5e is not a game where you can grow your skills kind of in an organic way. You have proficiency bonus, and the proficiency bonus is what it is, and that's what I need to stop throwing my hat here. Alright, let's do it. Back up and I'll give it another try. We're gonna go for the record here. I think you have to get 100, right? So, but like I said, even I will acknowledge, even though Traveler is, I think, my favorite RPG system out there right now, the weakness is that you don't have cool abilities that you can do the same way that you can do cool abilities in D&D. It just is the way it is. Oh no! Well, I got the regular moon. But I thought that there's like a leaderboard where you have to get 100. And so there were a lot of times that I was trying to cram that sort of skill-based mechanic into a game that I had based off of D&D 5e, and it just was not working very well. So, you know, as many of you know, despite my last playtest of Gundam 5e being a horrendous misstep, I did such a poor job running that game. You know, the final iteration, well, I say final, but you know what I mean, the final draft of Gundam 5e is going to be closer in spirit to traditional Dungeons and Dragons 5e. It is going to be more class-based. It is going to be, you know, just what it is. And the game that I'm going to be creating, that is going to be something more along the lines of what I want to do. Hey, look at that, I get another moon. Not what, you know what I mean. It's not just what I want to do, but it's, like I said, I'm going to try and incorporate more of the things that I like, as opposed to just using a framework that's already pre-established. Woohoo! Oh. So is the last moon that stupid one? Okay. So I guess I gotta go through the whole moped thing again. I made a Destiny style character sheet for 3.5 back in high school. That's pretty cool. And I definitely, you know, to this day, I still prefer the old 3.5 system, as crunchy as it is. You know, that's another thing, is I want to, like, I appreciate a good amount of crunch as a player, but, you know, for ease of use, I love the idea of number crunchiness in character creation. I don't like number crunchiness when it comes to things like damage calculation or, you know, that sort of thing. Because I really don't like things that are going to take you out of the action. I did it again. I don't like things that are going to take you out of the action. I don't mind doing, you know, the quadratic equation when it comes to calculating how many hit points my character starts off with. I do hate the idea of, well, you have to roll on 6 or 7 tables in order to figure out what part of your body was damaged, and if it was a grazing blow, then you have to roll on the percentage die to determine, you know, that's just, it gets to be too much. You know, that's one of the reasons that I didn't just play Mecton Zeta. So the tabletop version of the game that I want to make next year is going to be, you know, obviously it's going to be a skill-based game. You are going to be able to have some character ability every time. I keep jumping too early, I think, is my problem. You know, you are going to have some character abilities that you can unlock by leveling up specific skills. And Stolen is Chop's idea of, you know, the law of diminishing returns, right? So you're actually going to be able to level up your skills by failing as opposed to by succeeding. You're rewarded for trying, not necessarily succeeding, because, you know, by the time you are a master of something, you don't need to practice it anymore, and so your skills are not going to... Having a successful skill check is enough of a reward in itself, and of course, the higher your skill gets, the higher your percentage of being successful is going to be. However, you know, every time you fail, you're going to get better at doing it. It's like that old credit card commercial, right? Everything you're good at now, you once sucked at. There it is. Repetition is key. And then that said, I plan to have a very robust character creation system where you're going to have to do lots of fun calculations. You're going to have to roll on lots of different tables to, you know, unlock various things. But in-game, in combat, I don't want you doing anything besides, you know, obviously exercising the special abilities that are granted by your various skills, but also, you know, I don't want you... I don't need people with a sheet of scrap paper, and more importantly, for a game master, a lot of people fail to think about that when they are when they're making suggestions to me with Gundam. Is a lot of people are like, oh, you know, it's not too much to keep track of how many shots you've taken with your beam rifle mid-combat. and how many turns it's been since you fired that many shots. Like, obviously a recharge mechanic would be super easy to implement, and then you're like, yeah, it's easy for a player to keep track of that, but for a game master, I don't want to with the groups that I've played with, I don't trust my players to be honest with the number of shots they've taken. You know, I want to be able to audit them and say, hey, you know, did you really shoot your beam rifle 6 times, or was it 8 times? You know, like, and I'm not Archer. I'm not Sterling Archer. I can't be like, you know, I know exactly how many times you fired your gun and it's empty. So what might seem like not a big deal for players to keep track of, you have to remember the game master has to keep track of that times the number of players, and then also for enemies. So the idea of doing a lot of number crunchiness in game, it just doesn't work as well as it would in, say, like a tabletop miniatures game. You know, if you're playing BattleTech, if you're playing Warhammer, that's easy because, well, it's not easy, but it's easier for a player to keep track of the actions of a single other player. It's a lot more difficult when one person has to keep track of the actions of 5 other people, and everyone has their own little things going on, you know? So that's my goal. Maybe it's a lofty goal, maybe it's unattainable, but I'm going to be documenting the process the whole way, and you guys can laugh at me while I do it. And hopefully have a little bit of fun with it, because, you know, I'm going to be releasing these things to play and to enjoy. So, you know, we'll see how that goes. Let's see. Sounds like 40k, rolling to hit, wound, save, involve, feel no pain. Hated that about 40k. So in a mecha game, would rolling to hit, then rolling what limb, would having a base HP number be better? Okay, so it depends on the game, right? Sorry, I can't scroll back the chat. I need to scroll back the chat so that I can see what you said. Let me pull that up. So it depends, because some people want that kind of crunchiness. Some people want to be able to roll on several different tables in order to determine, like, you know, what body part am I hitting? You know, how much damage is this going to deal? Let's see. Oh, I can't even open the chat from here. So a mecha game, rolling to hit, and then what limb is hit. I mean, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. That's just a 2-step hit process. I think that rolling to hit, rolling to defend, and then rolling to see what limb would hit, I mean, that might be a little too much. I do like the idea sometimes of, and I think HeroScape did a great job of this. And there's a reason that in HeroScape is very different compared to most other games, because it's one of the few games where a tie actually goes to the defender instead of the attacker. Wait, can I not go there? Okay, I'm going to Snow Kingdom. It's one of the few games where a tie goes to the attacker, and the reason for that is because HeroScape utilizes custom dice. You have the attack dice, which are 50% dice. It's 3 and 3, or well, they're all 6-sided dice, right? So you have the attack dice, which are 3 marked and 3 unmarked. It's a 50% chance die. And then you have your defense dice, which are 2 marked and 4 unmarked, which means it's a 33.33333% die. Every character or card, every unit, I say because some of the units are actually like an army of 4 werewolves. Every unit has an attack score and a defense score. And so you roll a certain number of dice when you're attacking and a certain number of dice when you're defending. This is fun because it gives the defender something to do. It keeps them active and engaged in game. One of the things that I'm going to do from now on when it comes to D&D is I'm actually going to use defense rolls. It means less dice rolling for me as a DM, but it's going to keep players engaged and hopefully keep them off their phones while we're in combat. Because instead of basically me saying, all right, I'm rolling to hit you. What's your AC? Does this hit? I'm going to say my attack score is 16. Go ahead and roll a d20, add your evasion modifier, and tell me if I hit you. That is a much more engaging way to keep people like attentive, and I love that. So again, one of the things I love about HeroScape is it's like you get to do that defense roll. Let's see, maybe a faster version or simple version could be have base HP and experience. One could have hit roll for area, maybe, or you can implement called shots. Called shots you can always make at a penalty, but you get to choose the body part that gets hit, something like that. Or if you want to just randomize it, you roll to hit a certain limb. But again, if you do want to have the defenders rolling dice as well, definitely restrict it to base HP. And I think I might be mistaken. I might be thinking. See, now I'm mixed up between Traveler and D&D when it comes to vehicle rules, because no, okay, it is Traveler. So in Traveler, you have your various parts of mecha or vehicles that you can hit, and each one has their own HP score. But then you have like the core structure of the I think they call it the hull. I'm pretty sure they call it the hull in Traveler. But that is what the core HP value is, and you do roll on a table to determine what part of the mecha or the vehicle that you hit. But if you roll the same spot twice and you've already destroyed that part, like let's say you roll to hit the left arm and you've dealt 2 damage to the left arm's destroyed. Then you roll to hit and you hit the left arm again. What? How do I get down there? Is this... Whoa. Cinderella, what are you doing? Yeah, you're good. Someone wants to go outside. I know, she's got the worst bark in the world. But, what's that? Okay, that's fair. I completely lost my train of thought. That's how bad Cinderella's bark is. Oh. So if I stay still, am I gonna get Frosty Paws up in here? So yeah, because, in HeroScape the defense dice are only a 33% chance versus the 50% chance of the attack dice, the defenders win because, you need to roll higher in defense than you do on attack. Whereas most games, attack goes to the a computer fan whining. I mean, it could be that. Interesting. Let me see what this audio sounds like. Computer fan whining. I mean, it could be that. Interesting. Let me see what this audio sounds like. Yeah, maybe it is my computer fan dying. It definitely sounds digital, whatever that sound is. But anyway, I probably need to need to attend to these dogs anyway since they're being so bad. But yeah, um, kind of to sum up my thoughts on the idea of skill-based versus class-based RPGs. I prefer skill-based RPGs. I think that they are lacking in terms of character abilities, which is something that you can address pretty easily in video games and so easily in tabletop games. Um, I want to make an RPG that is low math, that doesn't involve a lot of number crunching at the table. Obviously, anything up to character creation, stuff like that, anything that you do in your downtime, I don't mind that stuff being pretty math intensive. But anything that takes you out of the action is, I would say, a detriment. And that goes for Traveler too. Traveler has the same weaknesses, even though it is a skill-based RPG. And skill-based RPGs tend to be more guilty of it, to be honest with you, with the exception of maybe Fantasy Flight Games Star Wars. So yeah, like I said, we're rounding the corner on getting Gundam 5e finally settled. It is going to be a return to the spirit of D&D 5e. It is going to be a strictly class-based role-playing game, much to my own dismay. But once that is done, going into the new year, my focus is going to be primarily on my sci-fantasy RPG, which again is going to be both a video game and tabletop RPG in one that will be released at the same time. In the meantime, I will be releasing much sooner in the year is going to be sort of the tech demo, because like I said, all the video game mechanics that I'm introducing for this RPG, I am going to be using in sort of a stripped down, less RPG, more just a way of testing the gameplay to make sure that it's fun. Again, the reason I was playing Mario tonight is because this game would be fun even if it were just a box and you were able to control Mario and run around and, jump and throw your hat and stuff like that. There's so many fun mechanics to the game that make it superior. I would say it's a much more fun game to play than the Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Skyrim's got the better story, it's got, the pretty graphics, it's got the skill trees and all this stuff, but at the end of the day, your combat system is just yeah, yeah, yeah. It's pretty lame. So hopefully you guys are getting or you are excited about the prospect of that. I know that I am excited to share it with you. And now it's gone suddenly. See, it's gone because I willed it to be so. That said, this is my final live stream of the year. Obviously final video of the year. I will be much better about creating video content in 2022. I was kind of slacking on that this year on account of a lot of different things, new job, new kind of everything. It's been kind of a weird year. So I do want to get back to regular video content on YouTube, as well as, kind of documenting my journey through creating something new and from scratch, as opposed to just adapting Dungeons and Dragons to the Gundam setting. So, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me on this wild ride. I think I've been on YouTube for about 3.5 years now, and it's been good to me, and you guys have been good to me. I love all the people that hang out with me on Discord and give me a hard time about the games that I'm developing, and I hope that you stick with me as I enter this new sort of let me do that there. I hope that you stick with me as I enter this sort of new phase of content and game creation. And who knows, we might learn something together. I hope you guys have had a good evening, a good week, and I hope you have a happy new year. Merry Christmas to those who I did not wish Merry Christmas to earlier last week. And yeah, I will see you guys next year. Peace.